Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. And it is a great .com. Fall ball finishing up. They got a few more left. I'll tell you, though, man, if you want to play some baseball with Game 7, it'd be a great time to do it. The weather is beautiful.
Yeah, except for this weekend because I think some rain's coming in.
That's okay.
But it's 75 degrees.
I know, man. It's just gorgeous outside. It's beautiful. It's good for football weather, for Friday Night Lights.
You know, I was thinking, like, when I played high school football, I was like, I don't remember September being quite this nice.
It's been great, man.
Yeah,
it's
been
just
good weather.
Great. So, Game7Baseball.com. Get your team in if you're looking to finish up some fall ball this year. We'll have some stuff coming up. Don't forget, Bat Demo. Prime Sports Midwest, October 15th, Saturday from 10 to 1 at Prime Sports Midwest, Champions Village, 1550 Ocello Drive in Fenton, Missouri. Be there. We're going to also be live streaming at different points. We're going to be talking about the bats. It's going to be a lot of fun.
October 14th?
October 14th. You're going to be there, right?
No, you said 15th, though.
It's 14th.
Yeah.
I didn't say 15th.
Yeah,
I said 14th.
Pretty sure you said 15th.
No.
You're going to have to go back and check.
We'll do that. But anyway, we've corrected it.
Because you are recording.
But 15th.
No, I'm not going to be there.
14th.
It's the 14th.
14th. Yeah.
Saturday is the 14th. If it's on Saturday.
It's a Saturday. It's Saturday the 14th.
No, I will not.
Not going to make it, huh?
You know why?
Baseball?
Hunting season.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, the ducks are flying, right?
They will be geese. It's
geese.
The last weekend of early goose season, and then youth season after that, and then opening day duck season. So, I know it's going to be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And they got some new hot bats in. I don't know if you've been paying attention to their social media and web pages, man. They got some.
And we're going to be, and that's what we're going to get to talk about. We're working on getting the bat specs all put together. We're working on a bunch of stuff talking about that. We're going to interview some kids who are swinging the bats, what they like, what they don't like. I think it'll be fun.
That Marucci is looking awfully nice.
I like the hype.
Do you?
It's pretty. I've seen kids swing it. I'm sure they got a new version coming out this year. It's Easton, right?
Yeah,
it's
I'm not sure if that 2024 come out though yet. Has it?
I don't know. I haven't looked, so we'll see.
I have not been paying attention as much. I just noticed that I don't remember what the actual name of that Marucci 10. That's the black one. It's composite 2-piece. It actually has a name that is attached to it. But I saw the pictures of it, and I was like, man.
Next Tuesday, we're just going to talk about bats. Next Tuesday.
All right.
Before, not next Tuesday. It'll be the week before the demo.
Gotcha. So like October 9th, 12th.
Yeah, somewhere
11th,
in there.
Something like that.
That Tuesday before that Saturday, we're going to talk about bats because it'll be fun leading up to that, and we'll start looking and previewing some of these. Maybe I can get Rick to, we can bring some of the bats in. Jaws bats will be there. The wood bat, they'll be demoing those as well. So. I think I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do like talking about bats specifically just because of the types of players that need to swing certain kind of bats, like end-loaded versus balances, stuff like that. And I hope that we can incorporate a little bit of that when deciding to how to choose a bat. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think a great discussion. And, when you're talking about when you go into a bat demo, what are you looking for? I think that'll be a great conversation. We're going to do that before we get there. So just a little preview.
Let's go.
I love it. But today, on the show,
it's a little different.
We are, because I have been working on this. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know that I've got everybody here. And there's probably some independent teams that are not here. I know the Battle Dragons are not on this. This is mostly about clubs. I was looking through. I've been scouring the internet. I've had a lot of this information for a while, but scouring and really developing this list. And I've done this for the last couple of years, actually. And is how many club teams are in the state of Missouri. How many clubs, I should say, not club teams, but clubs. And, some of these clubs may be small. may only have one or two, and some maybe a couple of these have kind of gone the wayside. But I'm going down here on the list is we go all the way down to 83 on the old spreadsheet. But I start on line 2, so it's 80. It's 82. But 82, Mitch.
Yeah, and
82 clubs.
And looking at these, I see a lot of them. When we're out in tournaments, especially at that like 14U age group, it seems like it's a heavy dose of 14U when you've seen like brackets at Game 7 or any other providers, you're seeing these teams in them. So when I looked at this sheet that you sent to me yesterday, I was like, man, that's a lot.
That's a healthy sheet, isn't it?
But when you're talking about a few million people in this state that are in youth sports, it's like, is that really a lot?
Well, and where's most of it, congregated? And I'm looking at this like, this group, it's been around. I don't know if they're still there. I've had them on the list, but the Andrew County Kings, that's up around St. Joseph, I believe they're still in. But you start looking around, you're like, Bottom Seam Baseball down in Jackson, are they still around there? There's still stuff up. They may have a team or two. Could be.
And are they
Browns Baseball Academy? It's one I'd never heard of. They have teams, but there's some of this you look at where the focus is mostly on training, but they have teams that come out of that. It's not a lot, but their focus is on training.
Yeah, some of like when we went to play in the Show Me State games, especially at the like high school age, I noticed that there were some teams that I'd never seen before. So I'd ask the coach, where are you guys from and how do you, put your team together? And really what it is it's like we talked about Legion a couple weeks ago. It's a couple Legion teams just trying to extend their summer. So It's not exactly always just the club thing, if you will, but they identify maybe or part of. Something I also noticed on here too is like, some of the places like Building Champions in KC, how many teams are inside of their facility that might be break off of how you set your organization. So is Building Champions the same as, Building Better or whatever? I'm just making stuff up, but athletes, it's like, what if there's 2 tiers of the level? Like you have a premier team called this, and then the second team is
which I think they do.
Yeah. So is it really 82 or is it more like 80 because it's one organization just separating names?
And I put them all into one, Building Champion, because from what I've understood about Building Champions as well is they don't have one particular focused location. They have a group, they have this, but the teams, they work out in different places. You're part of the organization. I'm not quite sure. We're going to get into more of this because we're going to delve into some of this throughout the off season because this conversation to me is important, and I'm hoping to get, when we're doing these, Mitch, I'm hoping to get 2 or 3 of the club leadership on a particular program from these different places that we can have these conversations, talk about what they're doing, where they see youth baseball going, and with the clubs and things like that. Because I think this is a fun thing. If we're going to talk about what's going on in the state, I think if we can get it directly, I know from around here with Chris Craddock, Matt Shadow, Todd Stein, some of the ones that are just off the top of my head that way, and I'm sure there's other guys and we get the gentleman from Midwest Futures. Now, and see, there's the other thing. Midwest Futures here, they're more of a high school top-end program. They've got a few of Donnie Horn does the 14s. They started a youth team, but their focus has always kind of been more on the high school side. Mm-hmm. So where do we have this? And that's the difference as well in some of these programs. And hopefully we can shed some light on what's going on. Adidas Athletics, Nick Herron. That program, he started that. It's gone very well. They're doing well. You hear people say, "Oh, I like that one. Oh, those guys are this, that." Look, people do what they do. They run their clubs. They're doing the best they can to help the kids, and that's the whole goal. And we want to shed light on these programs. And I mean, I've got the websites over here, so you can go. And we're going to start putting these things up and looking at these things this way. But it's like this Browns Baseball Academy. They're in Rolla. I never heard of them before.
I haven't either until we played them in the Show Me State games.
Did you?
Yeah, and we played a Browns team. And what I feel like it's like a little bit of an all-star group that feeds, at least this is how the coach explained it to me, it feeds into having these extra games because there's just not enough in Rolla. You know what I mean?
I get that.
So, yes, you can go up into, South County, St. Louis. It's not too bad of a drive, up Highway 44. You can go up to Kansas City because you at least have the nice little areas there.
Maybe Columbia.
Not too far away either. But again, it's like, what are you really chasing as a club? And I've noticed some huge differences between St. Louis versus the other bigger metropolitan areas, or well, not metropolitan areas, but
I understand what you mean.
Springfield, Columbia, and Kansas City. Like
Right.
out of the four larger areas, they all are different. Like I
Metroplexes.
feel like, I feel like Springfield and St. Louis are similar because there's a lot of facilities that cater to club teams. The facilities built around the clubs. Where in Columbia, it's not necessarily the case. Kansas City, it's not necessarily the case. I'm sure you have that because obviously Kansas City is a large area. But again, in St. Louis, it's Tribe, USA Prime. That group uses the hitting zone. Midland uses
The field house.
The field house. Places use DTJ. It's where the gamers practice. STLPA. Like all these places have facilities built around their clubs.
There's club teams that use the sports barn, even though that's GBA.
Yeah, and it's a small, and it'd be a smaller set of groups.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong. I have several teams inside the hitting zone that are not associated as the main. USA Prime now is the main user of the hitting zone, but we still have teams that have 4 or 5 teams. Sugar Fire Fury used it last year.
Right.
I know they've kind of done some different things this year, but we have smaller organizations that have 2 and 3 teams that are still using our facility. But again, like it used to, the hitting zone was driven by Tribe Baseball for a long time.
And you have Sugar Fire Fury. Are they really? Would you consider them a club team, or are there 5 individual teams? Is it independent baseball? I know the Rascals out there, Josh Rogers, Steve Lautzenheiser. They have their kids, and that's a really good baseball team, independent. I think there's maybe one more that is called Rascals. They're independent teams. There are a few of them out here, like we talked about with the Battle Dragons down in DeSoto. I'm sure, and this is what we want to find out, and not separating, but see how much of it is this side to that side. One of my favorites right here from Charleston, Missouri. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, you're going to say the Flying Squirrels?
Charleston, no, it's the Fighting Squirrels.
Oh, fighting Squirrels.
And
Squirrels.
they got the best Twitter X nuts baseball. Gotta love that, man.
All right. I didn't know that. The only reason I know about Charleston is because some of the guys that I had played adult baseball with came from that area and drove up and played. They didn't make the Kappa team, which is down in SEMO or in Cape. And before Charleston had it, the Tropics or whatever they are now, the SEMO Tropics, they had these goofy names, and I loved it.
They've got a 19U, 18, 16, and a 14U roster. So, out of Charleston, Missouri there, I think it's fantastic. I love this. Where do they play? I don't know really much about this group and come upon this. So, it's going to be interesting to see what we get. And I'm hoping to get some of them on the show and talk about, the Fighting Squirrels. I love that.
I might be able to help with that, assuming that he's still over there coaching. I'll see.
Okay. Because that would be fun. It's like the Central Missouri Phenom that was there, Neil Sidebottom. I don't think they're there anymore. I think they've folded into, I I think the Rawlings Tigers program, part of that, I think that went over into Columbia.
Gotcha.
And that's something that's interesting to me. You know, you've seen this happening in Columbia. Midmo, there's a lot of independent teams. Midmo Astros that I've seen, Midmo Hitmen, this, that. But it looks like they're a series of independent teams, which is fine. But nothing's ever really stuck in the middle of that in the state that way.
Yeah.
You had the Columbia Warriors.
Yeah, and I even think that they're starting to look into moving into the national organization side of things. I know the U.S. Nationals are there. I know
Right.
PBA went, or PSA, whatever they are. I know they had a Jeff City group up there. I do believe that in St. Louis and some of these, Springfield and Columbia, Missouri. I can't speak on Kansas City, sorry, but you're starting to see them merge with national groups.
Right.
In general, you're seeing 2 or 3 teams merge together and calling themselves or being a part of a national group. Mm-hmm. And I don't know the reason why. I can speak on my own behalf on why I chose to, merge with Dan and Earl as far as USA Prime. Some of it's business because of the hitting zone side of things, but for me, it was to use resources. To have the resources that they have and the resources that some of the national office provides. Has it been a struggle? I can't say it's been easy, but we're working through things, and having extra hands to work through it has been good.
Right.
Being able to talk through things and be like-minded. And I think that helps our area in a sense, because there's no reason for me to compete against them in the same building. As far as the same players go.
Well, and you can say what you want to, and this goes to, and people are like, you're competing. Well, yeah, if you're building a club, what are you trying to do? What's the goal? If you just got one team, fantastic, and you want to coach one team and you take them on up through, whatever the case may be. But most of these, and this is what are we setting these clubs for? And we'll come back to this, but I want to go through the list here because, and it goes to your point here, even the Easton St. Louis Tigers or the St. Louis Tigers, a Slava team. They've been around a while. They're still there in doing those things. Of course, GBA, grind baseball. One that we don't know about here, and to your point a moment ago, Inside Edge Baseball Academy. Now, you've seen Inside Edge before. They've had some teams travel over here and whatnot. Inside Edge is also gone. They have it right here on their website. Inside Edge and U.S. Nationals. They are the Edge is home to Inside Edge and U.S. Nationals Midwestern. So you have Midwest, the U.S. Nationals Midwest, and you have the U.S. Nationals Midwestern up in the Kansas City area, and it's all part of this Inside Edge program, which I think is very interesting, and we'll see how that so I'm looking forward to seeing if we can get folks from that group and, who was Todd Clausen. So it'll be interesting to see how that falls out, Mitch. I think that's KC Elite Baseball, Lee Summit. You have the KC Wildcats. Now, there's one that is a little suspect, along with the KCBA Diamond Kings and the KCI Expos Elite. Those three, I don't know which ones are even maybe still even around.
And this is always interesting when seeing some of this, because are they high school teams? Are they a clubs? And first of all, I think one of the things we should identify is what is a club, what is an independent group.
I agree.
Because you have like the Bad Boy Aces, which have 4 or 5 teams, but they kind of operate individually. You have, like you just talked about, the Sugar Fire Fury.
Right.
Is that a club or is that an independent inside of that scheme?
They all have the same name.
And that's, to me, that's how we should figure some things out. Because when I looked at the Tribe, was Tribe a club?
Let's put this into perspective. I think that let's stop right here. What defines a club team?
That's for you.
What?
I always associate it with, because of St. Louis and how St. Louis market is, I've always associated with the attachment to the building.
That's an interesting thought process.
And
not every, yeah.
Correct. So if you think about and I'm using the Sugar Fire Fury for an example because I have an experience with them. And it's not a negative anything at all. But
No, I understand.
Sugar Fire had used 3 or 4 teams used me. Another team used its own space. The coach he has a small space that he uses. This year, some of the coaching staff's coming to my place. Some of the coaching staff's going somewhere else. Some of the coaching staff's going somewhere else. Is that still identified as a club group? And so this is where I struggle. I always associated with the building.
I think that's a very, very interesting. If we're going to then identify clubs, I could say, yeah, because it's actually a club. You have your own space. You have your own. So how many of those are there?
That's the. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That's just how I feel. So for me, it's like if I look at the Gators, I feel like that is a club team because of the facility, the sports barn. They probably separate it business-wise, but it's an attachment
it's the sports barn, right?
It's an attachment to the sports barn.
But it is for GBA.
Correct.
Gators baseball development.
So if you have, say, Little Jimmy's team in there, and they got 3 or 4 teams, do they use that facility, and is that considered a club team?
And to that point, and I was texting back and forth with Craddock when they're building the new one in Illinois. Mm-hmm. They're building the facility in Illinois, which I'm hoping, and we do a show over there from the new facility. That'll be fun, and so when that gets done, we'll roll over there. It'll be fun. Enjoy that. I love doing that kind of stuff because I love seeing the new facilities and what people are doing. I think it's great. And so I think that's a very I can't disagree with that in that respect. There may be people, if you want to comment below and tell us what you think defines a club team, but I think that's a very fair assessment, Mitch.
Would you associate Legion with club? And not that it's the same, but the fact that you have a freshman, a JV, and varsity Legion, or 3 levels of Legion. What about Slava? Because they have similar names, like the Tigers.
Then you get into situations, in my estimation. Yeah, I think I definitely think you can call Post 218 a club. They have their facility, they work out, they do what they do. Are there other if you have your own field?
Well, and like Legacy does, I guess, down there.
Yeah,
and I think
Legacy. There you go.
They're not the only ones, but again, inside of because here's where we struggle with the Prime, and this is why I bring this stuff up is we want USA Prime to be something specific in the area, and so if we have, say, a single A, double A team, and we don't want to take this from them, but they're more of an academy group. And so do we keep them separate from USA Prime? It's under the umbrella.
Yeah.
So is that a club team or is that an independent team? And so this is why when I look at some of the lists and I see people like the Fighting Squirrels, is that a club because there might be 3 or 4 teams? But are they a part of something else? That's why I brought up Building Champions earlier, is because they have some umbrellas underneath that. And you start to see that Inside Edge.
Max Rep Bats just here over in Old Town St. Charles, Newtown St. Charles. Mm-hmm. They have their own facility. Midwest Rebels, they have their own facility.
And then they're part of 5 Tool as well, right? Or 5
Star?
Yeah,
5 Tool. 5 Tool. Yeah, they've worked on that national level with 5 Tool.
Yeah,
yep.
and so you're seeing a little bit of a difference of levels of play is how I associate it.
Yeah, Missouri Redhawks, Ahern, he's got his place over there. So, yeah.
Redbirds.
The Redbirds, St. Louis Redbirds, Basta. They have Gamers, Prospects, Recruits,
Tigers.
Naturals, Tigers. These are real club teams with their facilities where they bring their kids to develop them. And is that the not that other coaches or independent teams or 5-6 teams aren't developing kids, but if you're talking about club programs or do we just call them programs? Club programs. That's what you're bringing your player there. It's an academy, has the workout, the process. That doesn't mean that. Seeing there's the language.
This is why I brought it up, is because I wasn't exactly sure. I've been in this for a few years now, even on the softball side, what identifies the club scene and the club atmosphere, and I look at exactly what you're talking about. If you go into a gamer's facility, right, I know that the gamers is the primary maybe
more
user.
Than 5 teams.
Well, yeah, but there's also other teams that use the facility that might have 3 or 4 that are developing under their own, platform. And again, we have USA Prime. And again,
well, let me ask you this: is it a matter, a club? There are certain programs, that when you look at a Rawlings Tigers, a Recruits baseball, a Midland baseball, a Gators,
Nationals Prime,
St. Louis Naturals, US Prime, they have a format, a development format. They have, we call it an academy, but they have a process, a program that people are going through in that respect, starting from 8 and 9. How many kids are staying with your program from 8U on up? And I think this is not that means you're not a program, kids aren't staying. Don't get me wrong. But do you have 8U, 9U, 10U, 11U, 12U, 13U, 14U, 15U, 16U, 17U, 18U, 19U, or 18U?
Well, you have with the collegiate league and stuff now. So you can call it 19U if you want,
right?
Because there's these,
because they're playing in the Metro League and things like that.
Car Shield,
yep.
They do have them over there at the Hoots and stuff like that. And again, going back to this
would that where you would call a club team is if you have team in every age group, are you legitimately that club?
For me, I think it's about the service as well that we provide. If you think about what we do in anybody that else is out there that's a club owner, if you will, if this is shedding light on the industry, whatever, but we have a group of instructors inside the hitting zone we keep busy with teams. Is that part of the club? Is this the same thing as a car wash club, where you're buying into services for your month? Is this a workout club like Club Fitness?
Does a club provide opportunity for that individual to take hitting instruction lessons? That doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah, because we have that happen. I mean,
right?
We literally have kids playing fall sports right now in high school that are not able to attend some of the things that we're doing right now. Because of high school sports, and that has to take priority. And even sometimes the youth soccer levels and the youth football, sometimes that needs to take priority over some of the youth experiences in for baseball. So, but again, what is clubs? I think you should identify that. And again, the comments help, whether you're a parent, a coach.
But I think we might be overthinking it too.
We could be, because it's just baseball. It is, at the end of the day, we are providing services. I can tell you that the coach for Bad Boy Aces is providing service.
I will tell you, I believe this. And the conversations, there's a lot of people that started multiple teams out there. What can you provide? What can you provide as far as development ability? And I think that goes to are you associated with a club? If you have 6, 7 teams called, the Snot Rockets.
The Whippets. We have a team inside the facility called the Whippets, and I love the coach, by the way.
Okay, there you go. But you're there, you're in the facility, there's the club, but they're taking advantage of the opportunities that the club that is there is affording their players on an independent team, which I think is fantastic. I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's what the clubs are there for. And I think that kind of goes to that aspect of what you said earlier. You have a facility, you have a range of age group teams through there, and you're providing other opportunities to groups that might have 3 or 4 teams or an independent team to get lessons, to have cage time, to do that, but they may not be part of your club in that respect.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it is feeding my coaches inside the hitting zone instruction.
Sure.
And that's the club helps provide that. You know what I mean? And having that atmosphere is able to provide that. Not everybody wants that. We have a 10U team that he would be okay with being called an academy group because he doesn't necessarily need all the bells and whistles. So how can we tailor, your program, if you will? So would you operate as an independent team under the umbrella? We see a lot of that, and I think that's what the teams are for. Like Josh Stahl and his Bad Boy Aces, it's a great group of coaches. Sugar Fire Fury, great group of coaches. I'm a really good group of coaches over there. And again, is that independent or a club? They all have the same name, but they really operate differently,
independently of each other,
and they offer different things. One coach might have more of a club setting because of the services that he provides. Some teams, they practice twice a week and play. They don't do any extra. So is a club team all the extra? Is that how we should identify
No, and
it?
I think it goes back to what we talked about, and I think there are a specific handful of clubs. If you look at around here, when you talk about a Gators, and I'm just going to say St. Charles here this way, a Gators, a Midland, USA Prime, a Midwest Rebels, a Midwest Futures, a Missouri Redhawks, a Max Rep Bats. They have their own facilities, and I'm probably leaving somebody out, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's some that aren't open to public. That they have a warehouse that's half the building is the Grind, the Mariners,
Premier Sports Academy.
Premier, yep.
Because they have their own now, don't they?
Yeah, I think they're still working on that, but I know that
they're moving towards it. Who else were you saying?
The Mariners, Grind.
The Mariners, yep. Garrett, he's got his place over there. The Grind, yep. So, clubs, right? And here's the thing then you look at within those clubs, who are the instructors? Where are they listed? What's their qualifications? And that to me becomes that when you're looking as an independent team, if I'm going to go and work out in a facility, in a club's facility, okay, who are their instructors? And if I've got my players and we're going to a practice, hey, if you want to get instruction while you're here, this guy, we've talked, we've had conversations. I think these people fit within our philosophy, right? Mm-hmm. I think these are, so you're taking it, you have the opportunity because there is a club team there or club facility that you can also continue to work to develop. You don't have to be part of the club, but you can use their facility. You can be
use the resources.
Use the resources, exactly. If you want your team to be part of that club and move in that, that's fantastic too. But you understand what those things are there for. It's always the things we've said about club baseball. Find out who they are.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a big deal, is still vetting those clubs, those coaches, who is developing those athletes. There's a lot of great coaches in this area, and we've had several of them on this show that are very like-minded. And, people, you hear it all the time because, one bad comment turns into 20, bad comments, or, people listening to that one bad comment or negative comment about a coach or something like that. The trickle-down effect is it tells so many more people. When you'd have a good experience, you're only telling a handful of people. And so being on this show for the last couple of years now, I've realized there's more like-minded individuals in this sport, and what our main focus and goal is, whether it's the Gators and the Hit Lab, or P3 or ACE. I know that those kind of compete against things, But again, the people at ACE want to do the same thing that people at P3 want to do. They want to provide the best services that they can for these athletes. And I think we miss sometimes on that personally.
Springfield, 417, Marucci, Midwest Mavericks. I know there may be a couple of smaller ones we don't know about. But there's a fewer down there. Inside Edge, we talked about Building Champions in Kansas City. Prodigy Baseball, who's been around there for quite a while. Good, solid program up in Kansas City. How many in Lee Summit you're talking about?
And there's only a handful of facilities up there.
You know, Inside
It's
Edge.
not like St. Louis.
KC
and
Elite
St. Charles.
Baseball. You know, exactly. Old School Ducks, which
Yeah.
I just happened upon them. I don't know that they have their own facility.
I don't know that they're very large either. I will tell you this much, though. Their uniforms are similar to, like, the Mighty Ducks of the movie.
Yeah.
They're pretty sweet looking.
But you also have Rawlings Tigers up in Kansas City.
But that team was really good. They had a young man at 15 years old throwing like 86 against us.
The Royal Scout Team.
Sorry.
You're okay. Here's one that I hadn't seen before. They have, and I looked at their site. They're there. They have that. But SOAR, SOAR Baseball Academy, Kansas City. Albert, I believe it would be pronounced Ninnis, Johnny Balsamo. So there's some stuff that we're gonna really get into. But my last question here: we have 82 of these. We have legitimate clubs. Is that too many?
You asked that earlier, and I really don't know if we do. I think about all of the athletes, and, and just in O'Fallon area, I think there's something like 15,000 youth athletes in all of the associations and, Lake St. Louis, New Horizons, SBAA, and kind of that little area. I know that some of that's St. Peter's. There's like 15,000 13 and under.
Wow.
And so when you think about how many you need a roster, is that a lot or not?
Right.
When you think about,
well, and that's only how many is in this area.
Just assume 15 players a team for easy math, and there's 15,000. That's 1,000 teams, right?
Right.
So if 82 divided by 1,000, is that a lot? Just in the numbers alone. So I don't know that it's a lot.
Right.
I think what happens is there's this negative thing about clubs. It costs so much money. We're providing services for you, and so the cost shouldn't be a factor in your choices that you make as a family.
Not only that, providing resources for independent, because there are still a lot of independent teams. They work out in a lot of these facilities.
They do. We have a significant amount of groups that work that. I would say that our facility is more geared towards public settings than even the club side of things.
But even like the St. Louis Naturals. Now, I don't know, but as far as I know, the only people that work out there is their teams, the Naturals teams.
I know they do instructions outside of that. I think the Naturals have some other. They used to on the softball side, like St. Louis Academy used to work out there.
We'll have to get Rich on the show and talk to him a little bit, Minda.
Yeah. And that may fluctuate with business.
Could. But then how much space do you have?
There's not that many facilities that look like what is out in the Gator Sports Barn or down at Legacy. I mean, they have some amazing
I think,
spots.
It used to be St. Louis Force, now U.S. Nationals down in Fenton with Prime Sport, where we're going to be next Saturday on the 14th.
You got a couple Saturdays to go.
Few Saturdays left, but do they? I really don't know if they have other. I think they do. I think they have other teams go in and work out in there as well.
I would be shocked if they didn't.
Right.
There is as many as we think that we have here. There's still enough other business that we want to bring in, because at the end of the day, I personally feel this way. I could be completely wrong in how others think about it, but having club teams is sometimes can be a detriment, I guess, to the facility itself, because you're trying to offer these great opportunities, and you're not trying to tax your teams and clubs and coaches and families. And so where you have the public that comes in and uses your facility and they don't have long-term rentals or they're not using your coaches and things like that, they might pay $10 or $15 more per hour. And so I think it's tough not to have public come in and use your facility.
Interesting.
I may be saying that, and Kevin might be mad at me, my business partner, be like, "Why are you telling this to everybody?" But this is why we. But again, if the more people you have, the more opportunities you have for your instructors, the more opportunities you have for your business to grow, and so we don't need to fight over a 10-year-old kid that's a recreational athlete that wants to get the reps in.
Right.
We don't need it. That's dumb. The high school side of things, I think, is relevant to a lot of these clubs because there's just, you go from like 14U and all of a sudden things change. Kids stop playing, and so you see 1,000 youth teams that go to 500 high school teams.
And then you're on that national, regional, state.
And that changes.
Do you have an athlete that is staying within the state because they're maybe not good enough to produce on a regional stage? And then you have that regional kid that's there because he can't compete at that national stage yet. That's the reality, in my opinion, of high school baseball. It's not AA, it's not single A, it's not AAA anymore. It's a matter of state, regional, national.
Yeah, I believe that's what separates. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of my experience. That's my team versus Dan's team. I have more of a state group. Dan might have more of a regional group. He does not have the national side of things. Will he go play? I'm sure he will try to play in some events.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, because I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go try to play in a regional event to try to see where my team does stack, whether we go get beat handedly or we compete or we win some games. It's irrelevant. I want to know where we stack up. Because at the end of the day, that's how we have to get our players recruited. Dan's team's better. They are physically more gifted. They're just a different breed than my group. And I have a good team. I have a good group of kids, so I don't want to sell them short whatsoever.
No, I understand.
This team is better.
Yeah.
And so for me as a coach, of course, Dan is an associate, a friend, and all that stuff. I still want to beat his team.
Absolutely.
And so I am going to drive my team to want to beat Dan's team.
Right.
And again, if we have that, then we can know that we can go down in a regional event and compete.
And there's the opportunity within a club setting that you can set measurables, and the rivalries that you have in high school come in, and the clubs, and you're playing that guy. Hey, I want to beat those. It can still, you don't create animosity, but there's a fire. That competitive level that says, I want to get where he's at. And then it may be pushing that regional team then to get better, and they're going on pushing to that. This is what competitiveness is about. Then, as you said, recruiting. Those are a whole different level than single A, double A, triple A from, 7U to 14U.
Yeah.
And I think those are things that, when you look at the club setting, what are your objectives within that construct?
There's so much that changes in all of those years. Coach Mayer's dealing with that at 12U. At 10 and 11, he had no problems with the fall. Now at 12U, he's got some issues with kids playing secondary sports. Is he making it work? Of course. But it changes, right? You're really good at 10 years old doesn't mean you're really good at 13.
Exactly.
When you're really good at 13 doesn't mean you're really good at 16.
Nope.
And you might not be changing things. You might be working your tail off, but someone still might grow very differently in the game than you did. Confidence might have changed or something of that nature. I've watched kids be really good at 12, 13, 14 years old and not make their varsity baseball teams.
Right.
But be the best player at 13. Why? I have no idea. A lot of it, I'm sure, is maturity.
Genes.
Well, but again, did it? Yeah,
sometimes it's just genes, man.
Again, I'm looking at my team. I had such a skinny, scrawny team, and now we're starting to thicken out. We're starting to grow.
Maturity.
And the next thing I know, my kids are a little bit bigger, faster, stronger.
Last week on the show, Kevin Mulder, he says it all the time. We had Coach P sitting here, said it. He says, we're talking about the 2026 kids. He said, look, And next year, he said, at the end of this year, he said, this 2026 rankings, he said, you can call me a liar. Because it'll all be different, because you don't know how a kid matures, how he does this, who's working hard, who's not working hard. And I think this is where the clubs can help in those respects. Does it motivate a kid? Does it help them? Does it not help them? Where are you at? And I think these are all fun aspects. And we're hoping to bring more conversations with the club guys. So we're going to be reaching out, because you see all these. There's a lot of conversations to have here.
There's kids on that list, or teams on that list that I work with.
Yeah.
They will bring half their kids with, because they're in St. Charles County. They want to use the facility for other resources, whether it's catching with Jamal, or it's, hitting with me, or pitching with Mike, or using.
And it fits better.
Just because they're here.
Right.
But they play for a team that's in, Jefferson County.
Right.
And so, why they chose that team and not us is irrelevant. At the end of the day, for me, it's an opportunity to make a kid better. When we face them, I know how to try to compete against them. It doesn't always work, because I'm teaching them how to compete against my mindset. So, but again, my job is to make athletes better.
Right.
Simple. It's to be honest and make athletes better. And sometimes I'm a little over the top. We just talked about it prior to the show, some of the feelings that I have in this sport. I have to work through those things too. And, we had that's why we were late getting on the show to record. But it's 30-something minutes of working
conversation.
Working through stuff, because I still struggle even through this process of making sure I'm making the right decisions. But the one focus I always do have is I want kids to get better, and I want honesty. And
I believe this very much, and we'll finish up here. We're going a little long today, but there's the argument, clubs, you got clubs are just, it's in for the money. Oh no, it's just that arguments back and forth. Look, in the end, I believe this, and I've talked to a lot of people. The majority of these folks are involved in this because they want to help the athletes get better. Do clubs make money off of these opportunities to keep these facilities? Well, if you like that facility, if you like the indoor, and especially in Missouri in the winter, when you can't get on when you can't get on a field like you're in Florida or Alabama or Georgia or Texas or Arizona or California, these facilities are invaluable. They're because you have a place to field a ground ball. You can work a little bit more when you have a full infield, when you have these opportunities. Those things aren't cheap. They're just not. When you have to build an indoor facility, there's a monetary resulting action from that. So it is what it is. And so I don't begrudge people for those things. It is what it is. And you can see, you're starting to see the training that has been happening. And man, you're seeing a lot of D1 kids. You're seeing a lot of, Nazan Zanatello just got drafted 50th overall, man.
There's some good baseball.
That's pretty impressive, dude, by the Boston Reds. And Nazan, his talent, his ability, but that also the development process that he worked through in that, to keep that, to stay up with that.
Yeah, and he's a national kid too. So he is trying to go baseball terms, locker room talk, and I had to correct myself there. But he's the kind of kid that can go play for a Wow Factor, a Prime, a Canes, Nationals, all these different groups. He
Team
can.
Casey,
whatever he wants to do, right?
Royal Scout team.
Yep. So if he wants to do these things, he has that ability to do so. And he always needs a place to work out of. Yeah. At the end of the day.
That's like a Leo Humbert. He's playing on a national scout team with the Tigers. You have Sissel, Trey Snyder over at Liberty North.
Some really good players.
These guys are playing on these Royal Scout team, and because they are for real. That's and that's why they're Power 5.
Even then, I just learned. I'm sorry to make this a little bit longer, but these scout teams, like the Padres, Tigers, Royals, all these things.
Phillies.
They're actually
right.
kind of associated with
The clubs. Yes.
with national clubs. Like I know that
With
the
the
Canes,
actual major league clubs.
no, like the Canes and stuff have like they're affiliated with a scout group.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like Canes national team might be a Detroit Tigers
right.
scout
yes.
team.
Yes. Yes.
They have some connections there still too.
And
so it's not
that's
always
what, and they're connected to that particular organization, and those scouts are looking at those particular players.
Yeah.
The Detroit Scouts.
it's
the Phillies.
It's
interesting how those things have. I don't know how long that's been. I'm not privy to those things. I've been in my own little bubble for a while, but we're gonna get there.
You got baseball. You got former baseball players that are in clubs scenes, and there's this big giant push. I'm seeing it. So, yeah, I'm liking where baseball is going. Like you said, at the end of the day, we have guys that care
Yeah.
about the expectations of these young people. And it doesn't matter if you're a single A player or if you're this major player or if you're a potential draft pick. We want you getting better. And it is, yes, I make money. I don't make a lot. So if you think it's about money, I don't make a lot of money. I know that there's some folks out there that have some nicer opportunities. However, based on the time and stuff that they put in for these groups, I bet they don't make a lot of money based on what they're doing for these people and families. I say people, I'm athletes. I love what I'm doing. It's stressful.
Any work, anything you do.
But I love being able to see a result when a kid texts me and said, I just signed my national letter of intent to go play college baseball, or, hey, I made my freshman team, or made my JV team, I made the varsity team. When I get those texts,
it's worth it.
It means a lot, because I have 180 athletes, and not 180 are going to play college baseball.
And that's the definition of development, moving kids and whatnot, and the opportunities that we have. So we're getting no offense. I want to keep. But we're going to talk about these clubs.
But that's part of the club.
It is.
Because still only 10% of our athletes. Depends if they have their own facility or not.
Yeah.
I really thought that was
it's an interesting point, and we're going to look at that. We're going to see. We'll see how that's split. I do too.
It's specifically some of the club owners.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Small group owners.
Thanks for tuning in, folks.
I don't know what
appreciate you being with us. I know we probably, but nonetheless, remember, subscribe. If first time you're watching, hit the subscribe button right there. Hit the dinger next to it, because that's what we do around here, right?
All day.
All day.
Every swing.
Bing.
Every swing I take.
And
I'm not sure if I was going for like a Full House thing
I
there.
don't know what that was.
Well, I was trying to go like Sting, or maybe it's
And it
Cars.
didn't work.
Every
Yeah,
move I
no,
make.
Sting. It was Sting. It's the Police, right?
Oh,
The
yeah, but I
Po-Po.
say Cars for it.
Anywho, Rick Ocasek. There you go.
I don't know who Rick Ocasek is.
He's the lead singer for the Cars.
Well, I know who the Cars is, but
Anyhow, so do that, please. And comment below, all those sort of things. We'll be back. Check out Thursday. We're going to have Coach Scott McGee from Willard High School on the show talking baseball in the Southwest area. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to get some information from him. Next week, we'll be back. We're going to continue this. Hopefully, we're going to get a couple other club owners on and see what we can get, start having these conversations. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Mitch, as always, buddy. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes and hitters.
get them over their head.
It's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.
That could be the infielder or outfielder.